This is going to be a brief overview of our material list section. So, most important thing is whenever you see a plus sign next to a material selection, that is going to link you to where our material list is. And this is going to hold all of our important information that we need for the material. So in this section, what we can do is we can estimate based on how many windows we have and the size of the windows, how much sill flashing tape we're going to need, how much flange flashing tape, insulation, and caulk, right? Because I know, I'm going to, based on the information that we've entered in here and in this section, we're going to know exactly how much tape we're going to need, how much caulk we're going to need, etc. So the first thing we can select for is our sill flashing tape. And our sill flashing tape is just going to be however you like to flash your windowsill before you put the window in. This is where you select that material, right? So you can use this information here, but let's say you want to add your own, like let's say you have tape that you like to use or just any other material you like to use. We can click this button and we can add it to this section right here. Now, number of strips for sill is important to know. Number of strips for sill just basically means how many rows of tape are we going to use for our window sill, right? So if you're only using 3 3/4 inch like zip tape, a lot of times people will do 2 rows. They'll go 1 row that hangs off the edge and then do another row. And so that'll be how many rows, right? But if you're using wider tape, 6 inches wide, this is going to basically say you only need 1 row. So you can change that, or if you add any material, just make sure you input the correct number of rows of that material you will use for your sill. So let's just use normal zip tape. Now this is also going to estimate it, saying, hey, we're going to go up 1 foot on each side of our windowsill, right? So it's going to be going up 1 foot this way and 1 foot that way. The next will be our flange flashing tape. Now the flange flashing tape is if you have a flanged window, what is the tape you're going to use to tape all the flanges around the window, right? Now this doesn't calculate for the bottom flange. And this is really important to know. If you select the same tape that you use for your sill flashing tape, right, it's going to adjust, it's going to include that number right here, right? Because this is going to combine everything into one number, all of our windowsills and all of our flanges into one number, and it will estimate that there, right? So you can see if we select none, we only need 3 rows, right? But if we're going to use this zip tape for a flange flashing tape, you'll see that'll bump the number up to 5. But if we use another one, right, let's say we use something else, it'll calculate that right there. Now, for our window and door insulation, right, this is just going to be however you're going to insulate around your doors and windows once you have installed them. So if you click this, you can enter in basically what insulation you use, right? So this is just sort of like cans of spray foam, and this is sort of like a rough estimate of how many windows and doors you can get out of 1 can, right? And so you enter that in here, and that's how it's going to estimate the amount of how many cans you're going to need. And caulk sealant as well. This is like what you're going to use your caulk or sealant behind your flange. This is going to tell you how many of those you're going to need based on a 1/4 inch bead of caulk, because you can get about 25 feet of a 1/4 inch bead, and so it's going to calculate how much caulk you need based on that information.